What?
Ladies and gentlemen, I now call to order our August council meeting. At this time, I recognize Councilman Green to deliver the invocation.
Join me in prayer, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we ask you to comfort those in the Gulf Coast region that have suffered from Hurricane Harvey. Please bless and protect the thousands of emergency personnel as they put their lives on the line serving others. Please bless the 400,000 plus service women and men across the globe that are currently deployed away from their families, many of whom, while protecting us, miss holidays, birth of their children, and burying of their loved ones. Please bless these proceedings and give us the courage and strength to channel all this energy away from hatred and spite into a spirit of working together towards peace and improvements. Open our hearts to one of my favorite scriptures, Luke chapter 6, verse 37. Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. We pray that our attitudes, actions, and intentions here this evening will be pleasing to you, Father God. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. We now invite you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. The days are getting shorter. Our agendas are not, unfortunately. Just to go over a few rules, when we do get to public speakers, we do have a 3-minute time limit. We're not going to hold you to it, but I think we're going to have a lot of speakers tonight, so I would ask you to be concise with your remarks, and if someone has said the same thing, then just say you echo those comments. Before we get to the public hearing, I received today a letter that is significant and it bears being read in public. It's addressed to the mayor and the president of town council. It says, Dear Mayor and Council, this letter is my official notification that my last day of work for the town will be December 1st, 2017. On that day, I plan to retire. I'm excited about my impending retirement, but want to take this opportunity to thank you all for the opportunities I've experienced working for the town. I remember the first day I came to work, September 6, 1988. I started working under Mrs. Ursel Dewey, the town clerk, and Mr. Richard Lee, the town manager, who were two very fine people. Also, I'd like to mention Brenda Bryant, who made me feel welcome and helped me a lot. I did a lot of jobs at the town office, starting as a counter clerk, taking in payments and doing DMV work. Other jobs consisted of payroll and accounts payable, real estate and personal property taxes, receptionist, cemetery records, collections, and helping wherever the need arose. On November 29, 2010, nearly 7 years ago, I became the acting treasurer, and on March 24, 2011, the council appointed me treasurer. For the most part, I've enjoyed my employment with the town and will miss you and my co-workers when my retirement day comes. I wish the town nothing but the best. Please let me know what I can do to help with the transition of my work. Feel free to contact me. Sincerely, Gwyneth T. Prosize, our treasurer. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you, Ms. Prosize right here, I think she deserves a Blackstone round of applause. I think she deserves a standing ovation, too.
Is there some kind of ordinance we can pass to deny the request?
Gwyneth is not one to enjoy the limelight. She does her job in a very efficient and non-dramatic manner. We appreciate your many years and your expertise, and we will have more to say about Gwyneth as the December 1st draws, and I hope we can maybe have a little lunch like we did last year, kind of a combination, and do something for Gwyneth.
Definitely has a lot of teaching to do to whoever's going to step up in that role. It's a lot of stuff.
Exactly. But I thought that was significant. I was going to read it under the mayor's minute, but there's a good crowd here, Blackstone folks. So I wanted to get that out there, and thank you, Gwyneth. At this point, we have one scheduled public hearing. It's a street abandonment. Mr. Town Manager, it's been duly advertised.
We have it.
The request is for an abandonment of an open portion of what is called Brunswick Road. It's on a subdivision plat that's also attached and included for you. There is an ordinance of vacation, and it has been advertised per code requirements. The request is initially from Darlene and Billy Nash, and the closure would be for an undeveloped. So if you're driving southbound on South Main Street. Ursel Dewey's house is on the right. Ursel and Max Dewey's house would be to the right. And then there's a wooded area, and then there is O'Reilly Auto Parts. It is a portion of that wooded area between Ursel's home and our former home and O'Reilly Auto Parts. And the request comes from, again, Billy and Darlene, and there's also a letter from the trustee of the Palmore Estate, or the Dewey Estate. I believe his name is Greg Dewey, and he has made notice that he's in favor of the request.
Very good. This time we will go into public hearing. Anyone to speak tonight in favor of the request? It's rather routine and mundane. Anyone opposed tonight? At this time, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Members of council, what's your pleasure?
Move to approve the request.
Mr. Green has seconded. He's moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Tucker has seconded. Any further discussion? This vacation would take place immediately?
On adoption, and we'll still also have to record it, but your action making immediate.
Very good. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries 5-0, one abstention. We do have 6 council members tonight present. That means a tie vote must be broken by the mayor. At this time, we have scheduled visitors, Arts and Crafts, the Chamber of Commerce. I see we have our fine chamber folks with us.
Hi.
April Wright and Jane Barnes.
How are y'all?
Great.
I will be brief with the Chamber of Commerce, and I have a few requests regarding the Arts and Crafts Festival that will be September the 9th and the 10th. You have in your packet, it's typical, there are no changes this year, same street closures, and to waive the banner fee. Escort by the police chief for the tractor parade and the 5K.
Okay. Very good. Is that 5K going to be at 9 o'clock? Last year, there was a little bit of concern about, it was the first year was at 9, which was good, but I heard some people say that traffic at 9 is worse than traffic at 8, and was sort of I heard some concern about runners and vehicles. Okay, good.
And we do have, we kind of sub that out a little bit so that we don't have to take on the 5K. And we have, Kinston Forest School will be handling it this year.
Good. Plenty of volunteers. Any questions?
Move to
Mrs. Wright.
approve all 6 items that are presented before us.
Is there a second to Mr. Nash's motion? Second. Mr. Scott has seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
It's hard to believe it's 2 weeks away.
I have an unusual request, Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Green.
I would like to offer a motion to council and maybe clear up the air on something that came out of my committee.
Okay.
We were presented with 2 requests to, help me with this, Mr. Manager, to deviate from what we thought was current policy. Is that the way to say it?
The town, and Gwinnett probably can join in and help me, the town for years has required family headstones to be placed at the center of 8 or 4 grade lots. There's been some consternation about such policy, and as I reported in council, it is not written down. It's been practiced for time immemorial. And I think the committee reviewed that. We reported that it is not a written policy, but a policy that's been followed by the town for God knows how many years, since the town opened up the second section, because it only applies
To the new
to the
section.
new section.
Right.
So however long that has been. And it was pointed out by one of the petitioners that it is not written down. And that was reported, and the committee does have a recommendation for you.
Mr. Green, do you care to
I
continue?
would like to continue. I move we approve the two requests because we don't have a policy to deny it. We are in the midst of creating a new cemetery policy, which I hope maybe next month, the one in your council package, I ask you to ignore. We're still working on it.
All right.
So, seeing that we don't have a policy in writing, I move that we approve the 2 requests.
Second.
Mr. Nash, second the motion. Just for the record, I believe that one of the requests is from the Farleys.
And
And the other, who is the other request from Ms. It is
Dalton.
Sharon Dalton, okay. Members of council, any discussion? This is, again, the council is in the process of adopting new policies for the cemetery. They'll be in writing and be very thorough. and they would take effect in January. But we've had 2 requests, and we've been following a practice about on a full grave lot, but it's not in writing. So that's the basis for your motion.
It is, Mayor, but well said.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, when I came here, the full lot is 8 graves, and it's still 8 graves. The half a lot is 4 graves.
Okay.
And I came here under Mr. Palmer, Mr. Maven, and Judge Moncure was the mayor at the time, and it's always been handed down, just like we are doing it right now. And the cemetery has some rules and regulations, and I don't think anybody would want any cemetery lot graves in this cemetery where we didn't have rules and regulations, and I think we're splitting hairs. That's just my personal opinion.
Okay. Well, you certainly are a voice of experience, and we appreciate your insight. We certainly do. Any other discussion? Motion and second on the floor. I will ask for a roll call vote.
I tend to think the fact that we have for so many years adhered to this, I call it a policy, I guess, it's
Practice.
a practice. That it almost suggests it is policy.
Okay.
And I would ask everybody to consider this in their deliberations.
Okay. Any other discussion before I will ask for a roll call vote? Hearing none, starting with, this is Mr. Moncure's night to start with the roll call. Mr. Moncure.
Nay.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-2. Now, I don't want to, our next speaker was Bill Farley, and if you'd like to speak, you certainly are welcome to, but.
I just want to say thank you.
Well, thank you. I know y'all came from Lynchburg tonight, didn't you? Yes, we did. Very good. Well, thank you for coming. I hope you have a safe trip back, and you're welcome to stay. We might be here a while. Those are our scheduled visitors tonight. Is anyone else who would like to address council that's not on the agenda? Raise your hand. Well, my goodness, don't be bashful. I would like to go with, I saw Bobby Thomas. He has not spoken in a while.
Good evening. I'm just here to announce the 5th annual Blackstone Wine and Beer Festival on October 21st. And we made a decision this year to make it 12-6, since you responded.
All right, very good.
Just want to ask for a few requests. First of all, waive on the banner fee, and also to be able to close that portion of High Street between the Armory and by the Carriage Museum.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
The motion is second to approve Mr. Thomas' request to waive the banner fee and to close the necessary streets to have the festival on October 21st from 12 to 6.
Right.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you, Bobby. I will next recognize Mr. Lewis Johnson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm here tonight about that old ordinance that's it's in place about pelleting. I mean, I need a little bit more understanding about it because I'm paying taxes. I'll be paying food taxes, and people that, like the ice cream truck, is he paying $500? I mean, he comes around here selling stuff. I don't think that'd be right, and I think it's $500. It's a little too much. It's a good old boy system back in the old days. It's time for the change that I hope.
Well, let's take one thing. Let's take one thing at a time. Do we know if the traveling ice cream truck is paying the itinerant? We don't know.
I don't know.
They put in a gross that they're gonna make, and they pay on that just like everybody else does.
Okay.
So
and
in
then-
other words, they should be paying a peddler's license in our current policy, and I would request that we actually enforce it at this time.
I read the ordinance. The ordinance.
$500 upfront?
Yep.
Well, I mean, that's
That's the current policy. So,
well, it's more important than a policy, ladies and gentlemen. Ordinance is a big
Ordinance.
deal. That is law. So I think it's really important, and I'm not
I
trying to.
don't know the answer to the ice cream truck, but I think it came up in one of our committee meetings not long ago, or whatever the meetings were, that, I'll stand up so everybody can hear me. What we have on books, and we've got a copy of it included, is what's called an itinerant merchant's license, a peddler's license. If you don't have a permanent situs, a location in the town of Blackstone by our ordinances, that you have to get what is called a peddler's license or an itinerant merchant's license. The difference between that and a restaurant is that you basically pay your business license fees up front.
That's right.
Whereas a business will pay their not their meals taxes, Business license fees, they pay based on their gross receipts during the course of the year. Because our experience is, and it's not necessarily Mr. Johnson's food truck, we know where you live, but the guy from North Carolina that's selling couches or sofas or whatever it is. So the town had put this in place many, many years ago, and I think the police have had to chase folks down and all sorts of things when they're going door to door and selling in town. There's three things that they have to do. One, they have to pay upfront business license taxes, okay? And it's $500 is a set fee. It's not based on gross sales, and it's upfront, not at the end of the year based on the sales. The second thing is, an itinerant merchant is required by town policy to have a surety bond. I don't think that's necessarily a good thing to get rid of. A surety bond is basically saying if there are claims, it's only in the amount of $5,000, that if there is a claim, again, Mr. Johnson or the ice cream truck or the guy selling couches or whatever, that the town can enforce collection for maybe fraudulent products that were sold or for whatever reason, because the person may be only here for a day. So the surety bond hasn't necessarily been the issue. The $500 upfront business license fee has. He'll still have to pay meals taxes on par with everybody else.
Right.
But instead of paying business license up front,
Just a few questions. I want to kind of keep this thing real short and simple. There is no recommendation by the committee that I've read in my packet to change or not change the ordinance. It's being studied, correct?
it's being studied, and I think Chesky and I are supposed to look at it. But if you'd like, so that we can proceed on, if you intend on making a change, we can advertise a public hearing.
Okay, and the second thing I want to say is you mentioned good old boy, and I think that's very important to think about. What I don't want to see this council do is make decisions based on who someone is. That would be good old boy. I believe, and I'm not a historian, but I believe the reasons localities did things like this was because your brick and mortar stores in the community, they had skin in the game. They were there and paying real estate and personal property taxes.
But that's why you have a surety bond to collect.
Right,
I
right.
think, my personal opinion is that the $500 and the surety bond may have, at the time,
Discouraged,
just
prevented.
punitive.
And it may have been, part of the motive may have been to keep out competition. I don't know. That's the curse of being so young. Just kidding.
But I done spent a lot of money on my food trailer.
Well, that's the thing. You've made quite an investment. I mean, I would say you've invested well over $500.
You know, it's just like a restaurant on the inside.
Right. I've seen pictures
I
of
got
that.
everything from hot water to you name it. Just like you go to a restaurant. But what the difference is these people coming to the Arts and Craft Fest is selling food out there. They could parcel somebody or whatever. Is you all getting the money off of that?
Meals tax.
Is you definitely getting the meal taxes? You know, and a lot of them was out of town. They're not paying no $500.
Mr. Johnson has the floor. Mr. Johnson has the floor.
And they're making a good profit for 2 days.
Right. Just so you asked another good question, this council did take action, formal action, because, and I can see how some would disagree and some would agree, because the Arts and Crafts is a special day, a weekend that brings people and visitors to Blackstone. This council chose a few years ago to enforce the meals tax, which was not being enforced many years ago, but to also give them a break because it was a festival. But all your points are accurate. It's just a matter of what is council's pleasure on this request. And when do you plan to start? Are you ready to roll now?
I'm ready to roll now.
All right. Well, to change your ordinance, you're going to have it's going to be at least 45 days.
You can do it, and you can pay up front when the council say, well, we'll reimburse you if we make the change.
Right.
Find some accommodation.
Mr. Michael Bagley had a quick point.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Is that $500 is in the same proximity of the other localities around Farmville, Petersburg?
Great question.
Lawrenceville, Crew?
Great question.
You don't know.
That's what we in committee had asked the town manager to check into.
I did send a email thing to the clerks, and I only got one response, which was from Front Royal, but
What did they say?
I have not had a chance to really look
Okay.
at the whole thing. They sent me an application and sent me their ordinance, but it's something that I need to sit down and really look at.
Okay.
Only one locality replied back.
Okay. Very good. Members of council,
I
Yes.
would like to make a couple of comments.
Yes.
I appreciate you bringing it. You've shed a different light on it. We have an ice cream store here in town, and, you know, that's atrocious. It's something that we need to run down. We need to send this man a notice that he needs to pay this fee and have a surety bond or not come back within the corporate limits of Blackstone. That needs to be done right away. I tend to believe that this was like what I call in my business a left-handed approval or turn down. You know, I think that was so punitive it would to drive people away. So I'm in agreement that it's unfair to put that type of upfront fee. But I do think the surety bond for safety of the town.
I mean, I don't have no
So-
problem with that. I have that.
That's pretty reasonable, right?
I don't know how we would do it, but I think you're right. It's not right for that ice cream truck to be coming through here, and he's been coming through here, and now you're starting a business, and you're going to be asked to pay the fee. So we either give you an exemption, or which I don't prefer to do, is to ask you to pay the fee, and then if the policy's changed, refund it. But that wouldn't be my suggestion. I'd never want to see one of my constituents being treated differently than a carpetbagger, okay? So,
All right. What I'm hearing, I feel like we're going to probably have a motion in a minute to expedite, to proceed with advertising. Now, I don't want to put words in the council's mouth, but, and remember, whatever you advertise, you can lessen. So if you want to advertise, maybe, it would be nice to find out, if we find out that every town around us is charging $300, or just, maybe we want to be lower and be more competitive. But Mr. Green's made great points, and of course, I hate to be the town that chases the ice cream truck out. Not going to go over well with the young constituents.
Also, this merchant is paying taxes, and you have
Agreed.
You have a man that has an investment here. So I don't know. We've got the town attorney here. I don't know if we have the power to waive his fee until we come up with a policy. I think that's the fairest thing we can do, because as long as I can remember, scrambling for a $10 bill when I heard that because the kids were going to come after me. But
It's an ordinance. I don't feel comfortable waiving it. I feel like we need to go ahead and currently enforce the ice cream truck. If he's in town, he needs to make sure he has his peddler's license under our current ordinance.
Okay, so how is that equitable to Mr. Johnson, that this man's been doing it for all these years, and
Can't
now
fix what had been in the past. I mean,
It's sort of like the car that you've seen for 5 years that's been parking for 4 hours downtown, and then finally they get a ticket. I get both points are valid, but what I want to look at is how we want to move forward. Do you want to make a motion to advertise an ordinance change, which could be done maybe as early as our September council meeting?
can we? We left out a committee thinking that we were going to have a recommendation or
More
an
information.
idea saying this is what other localities pay, and if you want. I don't feel comfortable without putting more details in it.
Okay.
we can advertise for a hearing.
You got to say
Haven't we already authorized the town manager to call hearings? I mean, he doesn't have to have our permission.
We're only going to consider one thing, and that's a dollar figure. That's the only thing that's up to debate.
But you got to put up a dollar figure to advertise it.
You could
correct?
just say, consider
Clearly, it's going to be something less than $500.
less than $500.
So you think? You don't know.
But we open up a
Don't-
can of worms, because you really I'm not trying to run the ice cream truck out or nothing
Right.
because the kids. But you got a lot of people around here selling fish, hot fish sandwiches and stuff. Is they paying anything?
I've had people come to my house. People come to my house, and the first thing I do is they say, "Sir, I'm not going to talk to you unless you do
it's
this."
everywhere. You go, O'Reilly's up there. They selling food places and stuff. No insurance, no nothing.
Well, the civic groups do have Mr. Miller, I'm going to get you. We do have an ordinance that if you're a nonprofit, you get to have, I think, 3 sales a year, or 4, and like the firemen, that sort of thing. But I saw Mr. Nathaniel Miller very, very briefly.
Okay, what we need to look about, he started, right? So, and as Mr. Green said, it's gonna bring about competition. So what we really need to do and Mr. Nash said, in order to avoid this confusion, we need to get a concrete set of rules to avoid this. Because it's gonna happen. Every time somebody brings something in and they see where he's doing good, somebody else is gonna come back up and we're gonna be hit with the same thing and we're gonna be up here scratching our heads again.
That's the thing. Currently, there is a concrete set of rules, so I'd like the town police staff to enforce it effective immediately.
The fish sandwiches you're talking about, we call them over at Kangaroo. We break them up on a pretty regular basis.
You've told me about that one before.
There's I can't say common, but I would say not infrequent
Right.
occasions when people set up and they start selling sandwiches, they're selling hot dogs, they're doing all that kind of stuff. We have Boston Butts being sold down in town. We have to break them up, and guys, get your license, get your proper signage, get your zoning, get all these things taken care of.
Can I ask a question? How long before you plan on being in operation?
Yes,
Well, I'm losing money to move my,
Yesterday?
yeah, I mean, I'm losing
I'm
money
sorry,
like you
Mr.
said.
I saw Ms. Candy Early, then Mr. David Patterson. Candy Early.
Don't you think you ought to ask the restaurants their opinion?
That's what I think a public hearing would be ideal for, certainly. And certainly between now and then to reach out to y'all and ask you.
Do you realize how much money we've invested?
But I mean,
Hold on, so Mr. Early, Mr. Early.
Pay utilities and everything else, which the food truck's not gonna be paying. We pay real estate taxes, all of that. I mean, don't you think that we should be considered before you make a decision?
Well, I think you asked your question. I would say probably that's one of the reasons behind the ordinance. Of course, it may also be to stifle competition. I don't know. What I want to know is how we best move forward fairly and effectively. And what is your pleasure, council? I'm sorry, Mr. David Patterson, real quick.
Okay, like you were saying, you also got people coming in here selling them vacuum cleaners and stuff, and steaks and stuff. Are they also being?
If they come to my house, that's the first question I ask them. I promise you. But like I say, not everybody cares. I mean, surely they go undetected. Surely they go house to house without being accosted or enforced. Certainly. But remember, I want to get this back to the council. What's your pleasure tonight?
Well, I agree with Mr. Nash, and I don't think there's been anyone else speak up not to enforce it. You know, I'm sorry that's happened. You're right, Mr. Miller. I mean, you know, everything we do is a work in progress, and this is a part-time gig for us, but we put a lot of time into it, and I'm the first one to admit that we make mistakes. It's how we deal with the mistakes is what we should be judged by. So. Obviously, this is a matter to me that I think should be studied and given a lot of priority, and we should have a public hearing. Ms. Hurley is correct. Everybody has got an opinion, and everybody has got a right to voice that opinion, and the best forum for that is in a public hearing. So
I don't
want to put you off. I don't want to put you off, but
We just want to be fair across the board.
right, that's
Absolutely.
all.
We all do. We want that.
Be fair across the board. And it's just when I pay this $500, you do not have to look at my annual report then, right?
I think just based on a lump sum.
Just no, because then it'd just be your meal. Well, when we do.
See, here's
audit,
that's a great question because this town council has decided to be very aggressive on enforcing a meals tax.
Annual report, not on the business license, but on the meals tax.
But on the meals
You gotta
tax.
But
respond to that.
in this case, I'll be paying them more than $500.
You'll be collecting
So
that.
that's not right then.
Well, no, sir. No,
Your business, you won't pay a business license.
let's have a little order. One thing I want to, and it took me a long time to realize this: restaurants collect meals tax from their customers. So it's collected and put aside. So and certainly the
I
restaurants.
will be doing the same.
Right. But certainly without those restaurants, Miss Early, real quick.
Well, I'm tired of y'all saying, y'all constantly say, we collect the meals tax. We also have buy buildings.
Yes, ma'am.
We improve those buildings, we maintain those buildings, we hire employees, we pay employees, and we provide a service that's taxed. So if we didn't provide that service, you couldn't tax it.
Absolutely.
So don't act like we're doing something wrong.
Oh, not at all. You're doing something great with it.
But you constantly say that.
Well, Mr. Johnson was saying he would have to pay more, but the fact of the matter is that extra would be coming from his customers. That was my only point. My point is not to belittle the restaurant.
Now, I'm not talking about the food tax. I already know I got to pay the food tax.
Right.
What I'm saying is now, according to the rules of thing, I could just pay the $500, and you don't have to worry about my
Your gross sales.
Right.
But you still have to report, like we're doing right now, for the meals tax, you still have to submit that, which would have your gross sales included on it, which you report to the state.
So what if my gross sale come less than the $500?
Don't think there's a rebate, we never rebate.
See, that's what I'm saying. It's not right.
Maybe
then.
high, because you think the ice cream
Right.
truck will be in the same boat. The ice cream truck is only going to be in the same dilemma. Ice cream cones $1 or
That's
$2.
not right. That's something you do got to look at then. If it's more, I understand. It could be more than $500.
obviously I don't think we have enough information.
Mr. Green has the floor.
I don't think we have enough information or input from all the parties involved, and nor have we given the attorney the opportunity to give us a lucid brief. So I think we're spinning our wheels here. So I'm asking for us to expedite this quickly, and for us to do whatever we can to have a good policy that's enforceable, In the meantime, we need to enforce our policy.
The current.
The ordinance.
But I do want to say something that about the meals tax. It's written in law, all tax collections shall be deemed to be held in trust for the town. So these taxes are collected in trust for the town. They're not to be used for anything else. So I think it might be some clarification there.
So, and I believe it needs to go back to committee. I mean, I don't think it's safe to go out and say, all right, well, let's advertise for a new ordinance, and we have nothing on it. So I think it needs to go to committee.
Well, I mean, that's fine if you want to go to committee, but I think the manager said it's just a matter of whether or not you want to drop the $500 or not.
Well,
I mean, you know.
May we help you?
She come.
Come on, that's fine. You come on. Yes. I would strongly suggest, unless our town attorney would like to say anything tonight, or any of.
Not at this time. I need a little bit more time.
Sure,
to
that's
see,
fine,
you
that's
know.
fine. I would recommend that the Health and Ordinance Committee expedite this issue, which would include talking to at least 5 neighboring towns, especially those closest to us. Engage, certainly the notice for the committee meeting would be made public, so restaurant owners would have a chance to participate, and expedite that, because we do have, it's obviously an issue of concern. Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Okay.
The next visitor I saw who raised her hand was Ann Hoover. I saw Ms. Hoover. And then after Ms. Hoover, we'll have David Patterson. Good evening.
You too. I just want to thank y'all for improving the appearance of the Swartz Tavern. It's really looking nice. And but I had Marie Thomas came by the house, and I kind of ached for her when she was talking about the Carriage Museum, and she said, every time I go by there, it makes me sick. She and Bobby kept the landscape mulched and weeded, and it really has looked badly this whole summer. I think that does dishonor the memory of her husband, who gave the culmination of his life's work to the town. So I hope you will please show enough respect to keep the entranceway attractive.
Okay.
I am grateful to all the people who have worked to keep our town beautiful and to maintain our history. These actions speak louder than words, and they say, we care. Tonight I want to pass out these cards to you to remind you to use the smileamazon.com when you order from Amazon. I've had a great positive response from the people I've given them to. They may not even have a computer themselves, but they say, well, my son goes there a whole lot, or I know somebody that really buys a lot from Amazon. So, and they're very enthusiastic about Blackstone getting a community center. So you can, if you give out of these, you can pick them up at J&J Dollar Store.
All right.
Also, while you're there, check out these 2 applicants. The one is the town of Blackstone, and the other here is Nottoway County. They've been given to us to raffle off. And I'd love to buy them myself because I don't have any, but this lady said no, she wants them raffled off. And they are displayed there in the window, and you can buy your raffle tickets there. And also, the drawing will be at the Arts and Crafts on Sunday afternoon.
Sunday, September 10th.
That's right.
Ms. Hoover, thank you for bringing this to my attention, because Amazon is the most hated word in my checkbook. I mean, my 3 girls at home, I had no idea, so I'll get my tech-savvy women on this when I get home. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hoover. The next speaker that I saw, I want to recognize, is David Patterson of Taylor Street.
How you doing today?
Great.
I just have a question.
Okay.
With just a quick question. I remember last year we was talking about putting 911 signs on everybody's door or
Yes.
mailbox.
Not everybody, those who requested them may not have one, yes.
Okay, I'm start delivering for Pizza Hut, and there's a lot of places here in town I do not have a 911 sign.
Okay.
Which to me, if I was a firefighter, brand new firefighter, or a rescue squad driver, I wouldn't be able to find a house in time.
Or you could be here, lifelong resident, you still won't find it.
But I believe right now that it needs to be an ordinance
There
that
is.
that
They're in violation.
and they need to be strictened because not only saving people time to get to their place, but if there was an emergency, for example, you do have you have a new driver for it, you cannot see the sign. You don't know what a number because for some reason Blackstone, I noticed some signs are like on Pickett Court. It goes 1, 2, then 40, and then something else. They're not uniform.
Yeah, well, that's true. And in different sides of the street, they have odd number sides and even number sides.
But some of them are odd and even numbers.
We do have an ordinance, and we do, what I would ask you to do, and any citizen here tonight, because a lot of times the best initiatives come from citizens, and I know you're busy delivering pizzas, but if you get a call for a pizza at 924 Harris Street, and doesn't have a sign there, please write that down, let our town staff and our fire chief, because they have a drive where they're going out and putting the numbers that meet the ordinance on the
Now, there's
houses.
some neighborhoods that got the sticks that's still about that
The other
high.
ones that's out of town, right. The out of town has the driveway post.
Yeah.
But the homes in town have the 5-inch numbers affixed to the, to above the door to the house, so.
Chief, how many last year signed up for that? It was
weak.
very poor.
Yep.
Yeah, I did the code red and a week, I
So-
think it was put in the paper.
Yes, it was code red. It was put in the papers.
Well, just
But
make a
it's
note
not
of
being
it.
to me. It looks like it's not being
You'd
enforced.
be doing a service to the town. Just make a note of it and drop it by here, and we've got able-bodied people to get on it for you.
Okay, because I'm pretty sure that even police officers should be able to notice that when they go into these areas and patrol.
Absolutely. Our police officers are our eyes and ears as well, and certainly
Well, I don't know how in the world Chief Kuzmiak got through last year with the staff he had. So
Right.
I'm gonna defend him.
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
we had about 50% of the people we needed to have. And, there's been people that worked through illness, and I don't know how he did it. And I never had a complaint. And cheers, you, sir. No.
But Chief, if your officers knowingly see something there's an omission, or if y'all say you're at a stop sign and notice there's a tree that's blocking visibility, you certainly would make a note of that and turn that into Public Works, wouldn't you? That's not part of your job, but y'all do that routinely, don't you?
We do, but I'll be honest, I can't say we're paying attention to the numbers.
Okay, that's all right.
I mean,
It's the house that's smoking, but like you say, most of but it's the EMS calls that worry you where the widow lives alone and the call's gone dead, and you got a new guy that's driving who doesn't know where Mrs. Smith lives. So great point, Mr.
Because like I said, I'm just a delivery driver, but I'm looking at other things while I'm and then also there's places like on Fifth Avenue and Pickett Court that the lighting is just very dim. You can't see what's around you in.
Well, when the Pizza Hut takes a phone call, they need to say, "Now look here, I want to make sure you've got your number because David Patterson's delivering tonight."
Yeah.
He's gonna be taking notes if you don't have your number.
Okay. All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Anyone else tonight? We have 2 opportunities for public comment. This is the first. There is also a second. Mr. Wayman Mitchell, you're number 7. That's the lucky number.
Are you sure? The way it's been going
I
lately.
hope it's
don't
our
know.
lucky number.
Oh, okay. Do I have 2 minutes?
You have 3.
Okay, thank you, sir. I think this is part of your package.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We're going with this is National Coffee with Cops Month in October. And we're going to start our Coffee with Cop at McDonald's from 8 to 10. And if you read these, we're going to have it in, post these signs posted. And it covers any conversation, anything you want to bring up, no limit to what it is. We try to solve it or try to find out and let you know how to, where to get the information.
That's October 4th from 8 to 10 a.m. What day of the week is that?
Wednesday. Just look.
Wednesday.
It worked for me too. I'm in town on Wednesdays.
And they've been pretty successful in the past so far. And then we also got the picnic, the cookouts in the neighborhood, in the wards. That's coming up to the end part of the latter part of September.
Okay.
We're gonna have one in each ward. We're gonna working on locations now, try to get it where the majority of the population will be there. And I got one more thing. The Blackstone Ministerial Association, we're having a sing out for the well, I don't know, that's a commercial, I won't do that one. But anyway, it's to sing out at Spring Hill on the 17th of October, 17th of September at 3 o'clock, sponsored by the HEP organization to give awareness of what we're all about. So everybody's welcome. And the last thing is we're having a Family and Friends Day on October the 28th from 12 to 4. It's bring a potluck dinner, and we're going to supply certain foods and you do like the old churches have family used in the old days. Get to meet everybody and get familiar with the community. We're doing this to try to get familiarization with the police department, meet our policemen and the preachers in the area to get people closer together. If you know about our last two services we had, and the last two Fifth Sundays, we had a good turnout on both of those programs. Sunday morning combined services, and we're pushing oneness is what we're saying, love and oneness, and we got another schedule. We're going to continue those out, but we want to thank you for supporting you with the first one, and sorry to miss the second one, but we had about 300 people the first time, and then last time we had was about almost 250 or something like that, but it's just what do you call that kind of count? Just
a head count.
Head count. Right. And it didn't been pretty good, but I think the last time it was called a lot of people was on vacation.
I believe so.
They're working real good, and we're getting a lot of information from the people in the community, what they want, what they like, and this kind of stuff, and it seems to be working good. And we don't want another Charlottesville. We don't want that.
We will not have that, no, sir.
That's right,
Thank
exactly
you.
right.
Thank you
Okay.
so much. Anyone else? This is the first of two opportunities to speak tonight. We have a lengthy agenda. We will get on with the agenda, and next we have our fire chief's report. Chief Tomer, good to have you with us.
Chief, before you start, I move to approve the chief's request to conduct the annual boot drive on September the 9th.
You already did.
We already did? You already did? Well, then I just finished the motion.
It was in the.
You're on a roll, Mr. Green.
That's all right. I'll get better as time.
Thank you, Deb.
All right.
To start off with is we did receive bids for our command vehicle. We opened up the bids. They were publicized on EVA and the Courier Record. We received two bids. High one being $58,000, and the low one being $54,973.
Say that price again.
$54,973.15, and that is without a 25% deposit.
I just can't fathom. Can you help me? Why it costs that much to outfit a truck?
Well, you certainly have to take into account that this is not just a truck, it's really a specialized piece of equipment.
That's why I'm asking you, because I'm ignorant.
We're not taking a pickup truck, putting a camper shell and some dog boxes in it. This is going to be outfitted to run a complete command scene.
Explain what's in the kit. You've got all the maps for every building in town. You've got, it's
the radios, the lighting. It is set up that we're going to put a computer in it. So.
One of the thoughts that just occurred to me that's kind of making it maybe a little bit easier to swallow is how long you forecast this unit to be in service?
Our Suburban was in 1988.
Yeah.
The advantage of this, the module can be removed from the back of the truck and put into another pickup truck of the same caliber.
It's starting to taste a little better all the time.
So it's...
That makes a lot of sense. So if you replace the vehicle in 10 years, most of this equipment would still...
As long as the pickup truck body
some idiot engineer hasn't talked the legislator into changing the code?
the whole body. Correct.
If I may very quickly, and to add to this, I know that when we opened the bids, they were requesting that we put a 25% deposit down. I think that violates the goodwill between the manufacturer and the town. For the simple fact is, we're providing the chassis. They're not out anything. This is a standard thing I have seen in trucks, but we have already purchased the chassis and we're going to give it to the factory for them to make the modifications. Dion said he had to, in an effort to negotiate some things, he took some things off the truck. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And do you know what that dollar figure was that it came out?
Taken off the truck, it's $52,293.
Taking it off the truck.
Correct.
But if you leave the truck as specified and bid,
Specified as bid, not doing a down payment, is $54,973.
and we, there you go. Okay. I just want to make sure.
Why would we not be savvy with our own money? Get what we want and put a 25%, I mean, we got the cash. The fire department has the money in hand.
Because I believe they were obligated to give us a $52,000 price because they were adding additional cost on it to use our money. And we were providing the chassis, and I don't think it was.
So we're just gonna hold, we're just gonna have a sour taste in our mouth for what they should.
Let me see if I'm confused. So this is free on, this is free on board before it's built. In other words, they want upfront money before it's built.
Not anymore.
They're
Talk them out of that, correct?
Okay.
The original bid came in at
I'd like to have some of that business.
$54,000. If we put 25% up front, they would drop it to $52,981. Requested some modifications, took some equipment off, and they came back with $52,293 without putting anything down. So if you put 25% down, you get a $54,000 truck for $52,000. If you take some stuff off, you're getting a $52,000 truck.
So then the first time we hit a deer, then we're gonna have to replace everything because we won't have a brush guard on it, correct?
That's one of the items we took off was
Well, I mean, if you're gonna go, so how this kind of going in circles. How much did you remove from the, what equipment did you remove, and of what value of it is it to you and your fine?
We took a
folks?
grill guard off, which caused them to move the grill lights, the siren module, some lights underneath, emergency scene lights, tracer lights is what they're called, on the lower part of the body, and they changed the sizing of lettering to reduce it down to $52,293.
I got a soft spot. I think this is just
I
do
think
it
we're
right. Let's do
nitpicking,
this thing
to be
right.
honest.
Let's do this thing right, folks.
But you should pay them $52,281. Excuse me, $52,293, and not take anything off.
That's exactly
Leave
right.
the truck as it is, and they should honor their bid price.
Are they
because we're
the only
providing
people to
chassis.
do this, or they just happen to be the low bidder? Are we at their mercy?
They're a little bidder.
They were the low
But
bidder.
there are other people that will do this.
Yeah,
The
but
other
you're gonna
bid
have to
was
go-
$58,000.
More expensive.
Yeah, you're gonna have to go with the low bid.
I don't think you should take anything off unless the manufacturer is also willing to give, but they haven't given a thing. And they're still requiring the same standard of deposit as if they were buying the chassis, which I understand they have risk at that point, but they have no risk. We're putting the chassis in, and they wouldn't budge off the price. I think you can authorize a certain figure if they can choose to take it, but I don't think you take off the things if they're
So
not
what was that
willing
number?
to.
52,000 what?
Their bid price,
Save $2,000.
52,981.37. That is the bid number, without taking anything off the truck.
Let's go with that
With
then.
25%.
Okay,
That's
so
what they-
I
that's what
move,
they
I move that
request.
we authorize you to do the $52,981.37 with no deposit.
With the understanding that we will pay upon receipt of the truck. We're not gonna
Right.
make them wait 15 days or
No,
30 days. or
no,
60.
it'll be free on board in Blackstone.
Okay. Is there a second to
That
Mr.
means
Green's
that-
motion?
That means that when we receive the truck,
Mr. Green's, what's your point, Mr. Green?
I wanted to be, we had a problem with the garbage truck. When we get the title in the truck, they get a check.
We've already got the title.
We have the title.
I'm talking, okay, so when you get the truck delivered back to you, or you pick it up, completed, you have a check.
Correct.
But we have no intentions of giving them 25% of it up front.
Is there a second to Mr. Green's motion? On the 52,981.
And that's the complete truck with no reductions on the.
That's correct.
No reductions. I second it.
All right, Mr. Nash, you second it?
What happens when they come back and say,
Well, they haven't. For me to get that price, I have to reduce.
No.
That's what they,
If they wanna sell you
If
the
they want to
truck,
sell you the truck, then I think that's the motion I'm making, that
We
we're
asked them.
authorizing you, and I don't want to ask them, I'm authorizing you to tell them if they want
The business.
They want the business.
Right.
Here's the business.
You second that motion, stand by your second. Any further discussion? This will be a roll call vote.
But before it comes back, I do not agree with us authorizing the town manager to say, all right, well, fine, if you're not gonna take it off for 25%, then just take off the equipment.
No.
It's all or nothing.
Let me
Yeah,
restate
okay.
my motion. I want the whole pizza. And I'll pay $52,981.37. My 1/7 of this vote is to do that, and is to demand that you honor the bid. You want the whole truck with no deposit.
That's the town's position firm. Mr. Nash, you stand by that? Any further discussion? We do need to move, ladies and gentlemen. I will have a roll call vote starting with Mr. McCure.
I'm gonna vote in favor of it, however, I do think that we had previously authorized the expenditure of $31,000 for improvement on that truck. And I still feel that this is a high figure. Now, I've heard all the reasons for it and all the negotiation, and I'm not gonna stand in the way, but I do it with some misgivings.
Okay, that's an aye. Mr. Scott?
Aye.
The motion carries 6-0. Chief, what else you got tonight?
Lost my page. We did install about 60 smoke detectors throughout the town with the partnership with American Red Cross. Pretty much took us about 8 hours to conduct that. We'd like permission to seek grant for a new defibrillator.
Was that in that motion I missed?
Not yet.
I move to approve the chief's second bullet under new business for submitting a grant for a defibrillator.
All right, but motion's been made and seconded this is to seek a grant through Virginia Department of EMS. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Also, the billing company sent a letter stating that we should increase our fees by 12%. That required an ordinance last time we did this. So
Can we modify our ordinance without a public hearing?
Not increasing, probably.
You can amend, but I think the policy's always been to try to have a public hearing to err on the side of notification.
Especially if you're increasing. If we were decreasing.
Right, I think the attorney's telling me I think we have to do it, so.
What my advice always says is, if you're going to change an ordinance, then you need to have a public.
Especially with more fees involved. And just to refresh my memory, y'all have been billing for services about a year?
More than that.
March of 2016.
Any idea roughly what's generated? Just
$24,688.
Just a rough idea.
Just a rough
Pretty
idea.
good.
And
Pretty good.
13
With
cents,
stuff
I
still
believe.
outstanding.
Correct.
Right, it's always be stuff outstanding, yeah, sure.
quite a bit.
Motion's been made and second to advertise for a change in amending the ordinance. We need a motion in a second.
I move that we have a public hearing to take up this 12% increase.
Is there a second to Mr. Green's motion? Mr. Scott has seconded the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it.
And the last thing, requesting permission to apply for a FEMA grant. Our goal with this grant is to replace the ladder truck. We spoke with some individuals. They stated that the opportunity to replace engine 3 was going to be really low. We'd have a higher chance of replacing a ladder truck on this grant. This grant is a 95 to 5% match.
Approximately, what are you talking about, $1 million piece of equipment?
$1 million.
Apparatus?
Nice Christmas present.
I
$1
think
million
we-
to
I
$1
think
million
we can-
two.
We can find it, what would that be, $5,000? We can find that.
Have we had luck with FEMA? For some reason I recall the narrative has been
USDA.
FEMA views us as being, have we got some FEMA grants?
We have
Okay.
2 engines off of FEMA,
Okay.
air packs off of FEMA.
Well, I feel like
Okay.
we were told kind of that the engines, let's go for the latter. And so, I mean, if we're being directed, I feel like we have a better
We've
chance.
advertised a request for qualifications.
For a grant writer, yeah.
And we received 2 proposals back. It's not based on a dollar figure. We based it on qualifications.
Expertise.
And it's specific to writing grants for fire trucks. I mean, we can write grants, and maybe the Nottaway County Planning Council could be good at it, but we really want somebody who's specific on fire truck. And it's not based on a dollar figure. But what I would like for you to do is authorize Deanna and I to review the proposals, which came in Friday, and go over them and then make a selection and move forward.
How are you gonna pay the grant writer?
Well, it's gonna be town revenue.
Town salary or just by like a cut of what they get, or how's that
I
work?
think it's a flat fee.
Flat
that's
fee.
payable
Flat fee,
only if successful.
It's payable regardless. If you win, that is a part of the grant, so you get your money back if you do win the grant.
But if you don't get the grant, you still pay them?
You still pay
Yeah,
it.
you gotta pay them. I mean, so
$2,200.
$2,200.
On one proposal.
Okay.
$2,200 to save a taxpayer $900 and some $1,000, yeah, that's a pretty good, that's a
How
pretty
much,
good.
what's involved in writing the grant?
It's laborious and tedious.
And
Gotta
it-
use the right words.
Excruciating.
words.
It's excruciating.
I wouldn't trust Philip doing it, no offense.
And you need to submit a lot of photos of the trucks looking bad and the firemen out in bib overalls, sweaty and that sort of thing.
I'd like to move forward.
Not in the dress blues.
If council authorized up to $2,200.
I was gonna ask for a figure.
All right, let's do one motion at a time. Do we need to do a motion to apply for the FEMA grant for the ladder truck? That's one thing.
Common consent, I mean,
Okay,
well,
common
you like a motion, so, yeah, I think a motion would be in order for $1 million.
Mr. Scott is second and Mr. Nash. Mr. Scott has moved, Mr. Nash is second to seek the FEMA grant for the ladder truck.
Roll call vote for the.
Yes, because roll call vote,
5%?
5% Matt. It's the 95 to 5. 5 coming from us. Mr. Moncure.
Yes.
That motion carries 6-0. Now, the other, we can take care of one of the committee reports on the grant writer. You
I
want
asked
to?
Dion if we could wait till next month, but he's concerned that they may have an open submission.
that they'll open the FEMA grant and we're going to be behind the time.
Okay, let's roll.
I think I think it's a really good investment. And I moved to authorize the town manager up to $2,500 to accomplish
We
this.
received 2 proposals back. We'd like to review them. We haven't done so, but I think Dion's concerned about the time. If we wait too much longer and you put a dollar figure cap on it, then we'll pick the one person and go.
All right.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All righty. I failed to do the minutes. If we go back to your 3 different minutes of from July and August 1st.
I move that we accept them as written.
Mr. Moncur's made a motion. Is there a second? Mr. Scott, Mr. Tucker has seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we'll go to payment of bills. Our first batch is $919,693.41. These are bills, checks not yet approved. Entertain a motion and a second before we get into discussion.
Move to approve.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion. Question. Mr. Green did.
I see that John Kessler has been returned his meter
He
deposit.
was very happy. He came by my office and said it was first time really coming to a meeting. He was thrilled by the way this council responded. Any further discussion or questions on this batch? Hearing none, roll call vote, starting with Mr. McCure. That batch is approved 6-0. Your next batch of bills total, y'all bear with me here. $159,862.66. These are bills to be paid.
Move to approve.
Mr. Green has moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Scott has seconded. Discussion, question.
Question.
Yes, Mr. Scott.
Page 2, Haley Auto on $9 flashing brakes. And then on page 4, $90. Haley the same thing.
All right, one's in the police department, and then,
In the police department. And one's police, one's garage.
yes.
I think he's questioning why one's
difference.
90 and one's 90.
I'm guessing bigger vehicle. My guess would be bigger, different vehicle, but it's a good question. It's a great question. Any other questions or observations about the bills?
I was just going through looking at all the CenturyLink bills that we pay for telephone, and they seem rather high. Have we called lately? And I'm not talking about reducing services or anything like that. I mean, like the police department is at $620
We haven't
per
done
month.
anything
That seems crazy.
since we've been here. I think landlines are crazy. However, citizens use them, and we also have landlines for a significant number of alarms for our pump stations and those kinds of things. And those are done with a.
So we've got a
I'm
lot,
sure there's a
lot of
technology.
services.
I don't know if it's more reliable than a landline, but I'm sure there's a technology out there to do it. As many of us have gotten rid of landlines at our own homes, but
I just
many
did.
of our sewage pump stations, our alarms, those kind of things run on these landlines. Have we done an evaluation and audit? Not since Chris was here, so
I mean,
it might be
it
worthwhile
just-
trying to get.
About 5 years ago.
Seemed high. I mean, the Carriage Museum is at $150,
They can price themselves out.
and DBI had a certain price.
Yeah.
Well, no, it wasn't DBI because
If it wasn't for the,
DBI is 115. So why are we paying DBI for 115 and then the Carriage Museum at 148?
I don't know the correct answer, so I won't even
They're in the
venture,
same
but
building.
it could be something like the alarm is one line and the phone line of DVI. I don't know if it's true.
Monthly fee though.
That's high.
Yeah,
I think
it's-
all the CenturyLink bills are high in here. I think we.
The phone and internet for DVI, and it's like there's a long line.
Believe me, $100
It is expensive, and I looked into it. Here, we've switched to Chantel. The Public Works, we switched to Chantel. But the thing with Chantel is they have 40 lines, which go through the internet. So like he said, a lot of our locations need that landline. And then I was looking into switching the police department next. I was gonna do each department. But at the time, they were still dispatching, and they had that phone outside.
Sure.
And if internet, or if the power goes down, there's no phone line.
I think we need
It's
to
all
look
through the
into all
internet.
the.
Between now and Christmas, over,
Yeah.
over the next,
I mean,
I know y'all are
not
busy.
right now.
well,
But-
it's finance committee's off season. So
Well, I was
we'll
gonna
take,
use the phrase off-season.
so we'll take it
Okay.
up.
I mean, if DBI is on here for just because of
Just-
security or whatever,
just
I
go
mean,
ahead
maybe we
and-
can combine
Yeah.
the services and not have to pay. I mean, it just seems
$100
really
is a
high.
lot of money for one line.
I'm sure they hate to lose us as a customer too.
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel the need to refer it or?
I will refer this to the Accounting Finance Committee, and I believe Chris, and of course, at one time it was kind of, a lot of transition going on, but I want to say she saved the town, I want to say $1,300
It was
or
a
something a
pile of
month,
money.
something like that. All right. We have a motion and second to approve this batch of bills. Any further discussion? Hearing none, a roll call vote, starting with Mr. Moncur. That motion carries 6-0 as well. Our next issue, we have committee reports. We have the health and ordinance. I don't know if there are any recommendations on that. Mr. Scott?
No, sir, we took up the merchant's license, and the town manager's supposed to get with the town attorney, Ms. Bacon, and come back with a report for us on that. We did do the curfew ordinance, and I think that was put out.
We need to do a public hearing.
It will be at the September conference.
Okay, that'll be on September. We also talked about the electric service construction policy, which I'll let town manager discuss a little bit.
Again, we want to write down our policies that we've been doing, we saw with the headstones or family stones and all that. The policy that we've been working under is residential service overhead. There is no cost for construction. There is, I think we've heard surrounding providers have been really, really expensive for the construction costs. I think there was a petition, I think that Nottaway County had even made a resolution to try to see if there were ways to reduce those construction costs. We do charge for materials on a linear foot price for residential underground, not overhead, but underground. Okay? For multifamily or commercial projects, all materials are reimbursable to the town by the development. Okay? So let's assume that we are, for example, hang on Goodwill, that they pay for their pad mount transformer and they pay for the materials to install. Okay? The materials is what we're trying to recoup in the cost for materials, or excuse me, for commercial and multifamily projects. No change to single family residential.
You've been collecting those, correct? You just wanted it in writing.
Okay. All right.
And the utility bills, we'll get more information on that. That was concerning return checks, correct?
That was where y'all discussed the possibility that did get quite a bit of buzz in the community because we are a heavily landlord community about possibly looking at liens, which some localities have done. And I would ask, and I've been told there might have been, probably didn't come tonight, but I'd be curious, I would suggest strongly proceed with caution if at all, but I'd be curious if other localities and which ones are doing that.
Well, this was very, and I can tell you, it may have sounded worse on the tape, but we didn't even have the information that Philip was supposed to have, so Philip was just shooting off the seat of his pants, and nothing was really discussed that much. I do feel like after talking I caught a lot of flack for that, obviously, because I talked a lot.
I had phone calls from my house.
But
I wasn't even
I
here.
feel like we need to start vouching for people more over there over on the other side of the counter. Background checks, more in depth, whatever we need to do. I think it'll save us. So I'd like the committee to look into that instead of possibly charging the actual
Liens.
We provide you the information to provide that.
Well, listen, I commend you all for information, and I've listened to a lot of committee videos, and I think there's been great in-depth discussion. I do, sir, the town manager said that there's probably about $50,000 in back utility bills.
That's annual, that's not over 20 years.
Yeah,
That's annually.
Annual. Yeah, because I got that because a lot of people said, "Oh, $50,000 a year. That's
Right.
not, or
That's
over
annual.
20 years."
So one of the things I talked to a property owner in town, and you don't want to, gosh, I look back when my wife and I got married, I remember like talking how shocked we were we had to pay a deposit. And we're like, but you don't want to deposit yourself out of, to be a burden. But right now, was it 300? But I explained to one of my friends in another town that, I'm like, folks, when you are a utility customer in Blackstone, that electricity, you can stick the town for $500 or $600 a month and walk away.
Easy.
So would raising utility, the deposit, that would kind of be.
And that's one tool to try
Yeah.
to offset some of the losses.
Right.
Tessie's taking some folks to court. When we can find them, we're taking them to court.
Right.
I'm a renting landlord. I ain't groovy on this either. I wouldn't like all this either. But it's a tool, and I'm not sure it applies to electric. Because most communities don't have electric.
Right.
So I
just
don't
be
know if it's the right tool for us, but we got to find ways to, and that's one of the things that Vicki was starting to get good at, and hopefully Justin will continue to, is to chase down bad accounts.
Right.
And we need to continue to do that when we can find them. We're willing to make payment agreements with folks. We do those on a regular basis, so we don't, anything we can do to recoup the cost of some of those
Well,
delinquent accounts.
I'd like, if possible, for us to look into it more in health and ordinance, because I would also like to look at how we read meters as well. I discussed it before. We read on the 11th around about, and we don't bill until the end of the month. So how can we lessen our burden if we can read later on in the month and send them out closer?
And it's multiple months by the time somebody's cut off.
Oh, it's
Sure. And of course,
45 days.
November, and I know some members of the finance committee are going to pipe in, November 2013, by extending the due date from the 15th to the end of the month, I know put the town at some more culpability, more risk. But I'm proud of that decision this council made on that. I did notice, and again, I did notice you skipped, Mr. Chairman, on the tap fees at FASC.
Well, before we go to the tap fees, if you don't mind, we're talking about just utility bills. We got to be mindful of, we don't want to make Blackstone impossible for a young person or someone new to the community, because typically landlord requires a month in advance and maybe a month for a deposit, and that could be $1,400 or $1,500. I would like to know what we should be charging for a deposit, and we can do it in installments. You could maybe lessen the blow and have a $200 up front, and then if the cost is $550, then for you to recuperate, then put that, give them 6 months or give them whatever is fair. That's an alternative.
Betsy Irby mentioned that herself. She said, have a
it's-
$500 deposit.
I do not want us to be labeled, you don't want to live in Blackstone. No, I want people to be running to us, not away from us. So let's look into that aspect when you take it up, or when you get to the point you want to punt it to finance, we'll take it. So it's common ground with you on both.
Very good. Anything else,
And
Mr. Chairman?
I will say that I read that article with some amusement, that no motion or no event at this council has ever been a 1-0 vote. I don't raise taxes. I'm 1/7 of the council, and I am the finance chairman, but I don't raise fees or taxes.
Anything else, Mr. Chairman?
Tap B.
Okay.
Pass C. If you remember, I presented to council some time ago, based on our standard practice, based on our utilities, that if you have an existing tap, you get credited for that tap. There's much gnashing of teeth about tap fees and in town and out of town, and we treated Fast C exactly like we treat our current customers. If you have an existing 3/4 inch tap, you get credit for a 3/4 inch tap. If you have an existing 2-inch tap, you get credited. So Fast C had made a list of the existing structures that were going to be eliminated out there within the campus of Fast C. We presented that to council, and then they put a list together of the new taps that were proposed on their drawings and their plans. And the end result was based on the new tap schedule that we adopted. You may be able to remember the dates, I don't, but probably in 2014.
Yeah, a couple years ago.
Okay. That tap schedule, they were going to be a $329 to the town. They were going to make a tap payment of $329. Well, when presented, Abby Lowe and them were not as excited about that tap fee as perhaps the town was. And they said, how do we avoid that? And I said, you can't avoid it, but you really have oversized everything you've done here. And we went back and looked at each meter that they were proposing, and they were proposing 2-inch services for spigots. It was that oversized. There's not a 2-inch water meter serving the loft apartments. That's a 1.5-inch meter. It was that over-designed. So Andre and I went back with each of their taps, and they had 2-inch lines going to spigots. It made no sense. That was a $24,000 tap fee for a spigot on it because it's on line size. I don't want to gouge the federal government any more than anybody else does. It's our money, right? So we went back and adequately sized the lines, and the end result was a $17,000 credit to them, which they waived and said we're not going to collect. So in my personal opinion, and council can review those, the committee, and we have talked about it, but because the tap sizes have reduced, and they've been treated as every other customer in the town has been treated, that the end result is it's a wash. And certainly I had plans for $329,000, just like everybody else. It was going to pay for a new sewer line on Tavern Street and a new sewer line on Broad Street, but...
Right side of it, we're not getting money. But they are improving our system out there.
Oh, dramatically. But even better, they're not dumping 2-inch taps on us that we own in the future. And that's the one thing maybe some people don't recognize, is these 8-inch meters that they were proposing for their cistern for the track,
right.
Those would become our property when installed, and they are mighty expensive if they go brown. They're ours perpetually. So the smaller the size, the less of the cost to the town, long-term O&M. So we do get a benefit there.